It's like, hey, so I hear you're the Sewerside Bombers. Not gonna lie, it's a cool name. You guys are cool, but that just let you know I had the name first. But let's party. It was his birthday, apparently.
Yeah, he was the one that got really shit faced.
They carried him out of the show as we're playing.
Oh my word,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. I love
I think
it.
we know
Give
who's
it up for
stronger.
Suicide.
2 bands called Suicide on a bill is very unlikely.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
You're just like, what are the odds of that?
Take a better scene. It's what we're doing. Come and check it out. It's what we're all about. 561 Music.
Welcome to 561 Music. My name's Ben, and we are without Hector today, which is a little bit of a shame. It's always a shame when Hector can't make it, but he will be back next week. I think he's on a cruise. I think that's what he's doing. Not 100% sure, but I think that's it. Yeah, so this weekend, Killbillies played at the Irish Brigade, which is a pretty cool spot. It's in Lake Worth, and it has just come on so far since we used to play there back in the day. It's really nice in there now. It's like a really awesome bar, and now we're going to be there like once a month, which I'm super happy about because we didn't have a Lake Worth spot for the longest time. So that's really awesome. We got a Killbillies home in Lake Worth, and then we played Paddy Mac's, which is of course one of the haunts that we've been playing there for 12 years maybe. Playing there for a long time. So that was really fun too. It was a busy one. Every now and again, it isn't just through no fault of anyone's. And that was the previous time we played there had been a bit like that. But this time it was awesome, super busy. All of the gang came, all of our friends came, and it was loads of fun. So this week we have Sewerside Bombers with us. How's it going, guys?
Great. Hey. Oh, shit. Okay. We're doing pretty good.
Yeah, we got Shaun, Noah, and Jojo. So nice one for coming on. The reason that you guys came on is because when we played the December 23rd show with Billy Doom is Dead, and I was playing with No Name Scar Band and also Butch and the Fat Dubes, I was just blown away by you guys. I just thought you were incredible.
Thank you.
And, I'd seen little bits and bobs over the years, but I hadn't actually watched like a large portion of the show for a really long time. And both me and my friend Keith and all of our friends were just like, oh shit, these guys are really good. So that is now going to change, and I'm going to try and come out and see you as often as I can.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We aim to please. I also want to say, contrary to what the name may state, Billy Doom is not dead. I learned that for a fact, and
He's alive.
Thank God he's alive. He's doing fine. For anyone who's out there who's concerned, Billy Doom
Is not dead.
is not dead.
It's not okay.
And
Thank
they
God.
were.
Yeah. Thank God.
They're awesome.
Uh-huh. So does that mean you are also not real Suicide Bombers?
Well,
No, we're not actually. We're not.
I mean, I've had friends who've worked in the sewage and water reclaim industry, so I have like some kind of relevance to that.
Okay, where did the name come from?
Oh, where is that wonderful name?
Oh, okay. So this
Come
story is
from?
actually
Very long.
a bit bland. when I
Well,
think
you're in the
about it.
right place for a long story. Let's do it.
So I was trying to get a band started for quite some time. I think long before I met you. And there's a band that I'm a fan of. They're from Baltimore, a punk band called The Ravagers.
Right.
And one of my old bandmates, he took up a hobby to just rent a van, or he had his own van, and he would drive all these bands around the U.S. So he drove The Ravagers around, he drove bands like The Biters around. He was their
It's like an Uber driver.
yeah, like a punk rock Uber driver.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
So I got exposed through him to listen to this band, The Ravagers, and I was listening to their album one day and just driving home from work. This is like 2016, 2017. And they have a song on there called Suicide Bomber, like an actual suicide
Yeah,
bomber.
okay.
And the way that the guy would sing the song with his Alex, with his voice, it would sound like he was saying, I'm a suicide bomber. And I'm driving. I'm like,
Okay.
that sounds like he's saying Sewerside Bomber. That would be a great band name. And then
There
it
you
just,
go.
it hit. And then by the next red light, I'm on the phone giving it the internet check. Like,
Yeah.
check YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Does anyone have that name? No. Great. I created a page right then and there. Didn't even have a band yet.
That's so
And
awesome.
I'm like, I'll make this work.
I feel like every musician at least once a day says, that'd be a great band name.
Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah.
Or song name. We did that a lot.
Yeah, totally. It's because you got to grab them, as soon as you think of them. It's more difficult than one would think to find names that aren't already being used. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And that's coming from someone in a band called Killbillies. of course, there's more than one Killbillies.
You're going to find a lot of psychobilly bands like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I've been burned by that one in the past. But yeah, man, it's definitely a name that you don't forget. That's for sure.
Yeah. And it's funny, like at one of our shows we did at Prop, might have been the one that we played with you guys. We'll sit outside and talk and have a drink. And then a couple of times we heard someone coming up and saying, "Oh, I want to see that sewer band, them sewer boys. The boys are in the sewer." And we're hearing that, like
Sewer Boys,
which is great. I love that.
These are much better names.
Yes.
Yes.
Should have been the Sewer Boys. Less confusion too from people. The Sewer Boys.
That's really funny. So we're going to get back to how you guys originally got into music and what your upbringing was like when it comes to like, were your parents supportive, things like that. And let's start with you, Shaun. Like, how did you find yourself getting into music?
So I was lucky to have my father. He's been a musician. He's got a huge taste and love for music, a lot of classic blues and country and rock and roll. He collected AC/DC, Rolling Stones albums growing up as a kid. And he's a huge country bluegrass enthusiast.
Right.
He was classically taught on guitar when he was about 11.
Right.
So I grew up listening to him play. He never uses a pick. He's always finger picking, strumming, and maybe a capo and a slide. So I would grow up, every time he would come home from work, I would hear the guitar playing at night or in the weekends. And I think one time I would hear what he would play. And one time I went to go grab his guitar. I didn't know what he was playing. I even considered the tuning was a song.
Okay.
So I didn't know how to touch or anything on there. So I would hit the strings and try to play along to what he did, which was simply just E, E, A, A, D.
Yeah, sure.
That.
Well, that's a great way to sort of like start burning those tones into your head. It's fantastic.
And then at one point, my mom walked in to his study office room and she's like, "Oh, I thought that was your dad in here. Thought he got home early." So I was like, I don't know if she realized the confidence she instilled in me. Like, you're telling me that I sound as good as my father at like 6 years old. And then from there, just got into I honestly got into punk rock through skateboarding, but the music of punk, I don't know if anyone's on the podcast has given any credit yet to this, but I got to give a whole bunch of credit to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's come up many times, and in a good way because it really did have a huge effect on everyone. Yeah, for sure.
It's good exposure to
good exposure. It's what got me turned on to like Bad Religion, Stiff Little Fingers, Social Distortion.
My friend's band Random Hand got on one of the newer ones, and they're just so stoked. They just can't believe
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's still an accomplishment, man. That's still an accomplishment.
Yeah, for sure.
And then from there, I just wanted to pick up the guitar because I wanted to play because I felt like a cool personality trait to have, get some girlfriends or something.
Well, I think if people say that one of the reasons they got into music wasn't for girls, then they're either a heterosexual girl or completely lying. Yeah, it's in there.
And then when I had a guitar, then I asked my dad, like, "Hey, can you teach me how to play this?" So he was really excited about that. And because I had an older brother who he tried to teach guitar to, and then my brother decided he wanted to do bass guitar instead. And he decided, I don't want to do music entirely at all. I just want to go and be an actor. So now he went the acting career.
Gotcha.
And then as soon as I got into punk, I learned that, I don't have to learn these scales that my dad teach me. I can just do 3 chords. And I did that for the longest time. And then by the time I was like 22, I was like, well, my band's ended and I need something better to play that's a bit more intricate. Hey, Dad, you remember when you were trying to teach me how to play guitar? You mind if we just pick up where we left off in that?
I love it. It's in the family. I have an uncle who was a big inspiration on me, and he used to come around our house with like bagpipes and cool stuff like that.
Wow, shit.
And so then my mum is just very musical as well. It's that this uncle is her brother, and she was a big influence on me too. She never played in a band or anything like that, but she played piano like when I was growing up, and you just see them do it, and you want to copy them. I think there's a lot of people who get into music who have musicians in their family because probably it's the most direct and influential way you could get into it. I think.
Right.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Though, did you ever sort of do that? A lot of people go that route where through they find themselves when they're young being in church and singing in the choirs and everything like that. Did you do all that?
I did choir for school.
Yeah.
And I was always either I usually ended up in the soprano side of if I recall, there was alto and soprano. At least that's what my school classes had. Always ended up in soprano. And towards the later years of my elementary school, I wouldn't sing as loud because I didn't want to be there.
Sure.
I was just getting bored of it by that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm more guitar playing first than a singer. I would say that.
Well, yeah, right. I know that I learned harmony through singing in choirs. You know,
Yeah.
It's just a great way to understand what voices sound like together. And it's when I talk to people, when I teach people about harmony, one of the things I say is like, it's not about singing melodies that interact with each other. It's about like it's all about knowing what the harmony sounds like and trying to find that vibration, you know, with the other person.
100%.
Yeah.
Being in sync and synchronization and all that, you know, let the guitar do all the frontman work. Let the voice and the singing meld into like a nice wall of a pleasant sound or unpleasant sound, depending on what you're trying to go for.
Yeah, totally. So, Noah, how did you find yourself getting into music, man?
I don't know. The music was always in the family. Not musicians, but just music in general. The first movie that I ever saw was La Bamba.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Classic.
and even though I
follow-up story on that.
even though I can't sing, my dad says that I would sing Roy Orbison
Oh, really?
before I would actually like talk.
Wow, I love
at a really
that.
really young age. And at some point,
Yeah, good.
that all came from the parents. But at some point, mom and dad tried to get me into violin. I learned Mississippi Hot Dog,
Right.
Mississippi Hot Dog, and that didn't last because I got bored. They tried to get me into piano. I got bored, and then when I was 12ish, I was driving with my father, and he played a song by The Cream.
Yeah.
But it was actually so it wasn't like the Cream version, but it was Jack Bruce, Gary Moore, and Ginger Baker doing a song called NSU. And my father, in his intensity and his passion, said, "If you're ever gonna play a song, you have to play this song. And if you're ever gonna play this song, you have to play the drums." And I said,
That's
"Okay."
awesome.
And then when I turned 13ish, I got a drum set and never took a lesson. Later on in life, I had to take lessons. That's a different story. But was self-taught, and punk came a lot later for me because mom and dad were all into a lot of blues in the house, a lot of folk.
I can relate to punk coming a little bit later.
Mhm.
Before I got really I was into punk in like the very early 90s when I was like 12, 13, but only in the way that I was into everything. Like, you know, I was
Yeah.
just as into like Wu-Tang Clan and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I got into like dance music and like psychedelic trance and all this kind of stuff in my late teens. But then I came back to punk in my early 20s, like in a big way. You know, that's
Mhm.
where it really hit for me. I'm like the only person it's like I went backwards.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because everyone gets into like Aphex Twin and all that kind of thing, you know, and considers their music taste to be very like, you know, I like Aphex. I like Richard D. James and that kind of thing.
Mm.
But I feel like I liked that earlier, and then slowly punk started to take over as I got older, which is kind of reverse.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I like the punk stuff on the radio, and then it wasn't until like later in high school, like gotten to see actual punk rockers and get exposed to them through skateboarding. They look so cool. It looks like where all the kids are having a lot more fun. So I'll get more into that.
Yeah.
And then kind of drift out of it. And then by the 20s, I think when you want to you can play more places and all right, there's more to be found here in punk rock.
Yeah, totally,
Then
man.
expand from there.
It's totally the opposite for me. Because I did, 'cause I was
He's just
blues,
like us.
and then I got into, after blues, I got into metal, I got into thrash.
Right.
And thrash was so much fun, and listening to thrash was so much fun.
Yeah.
And because I like blues and thrash stuff, then, you know, you go from the heavier stuff, then you go to Black Sabbath, and then a couple of friends showed me Reagan Youth, and that's when I started with punk. Because from
Oh,
Reagan
cool.
Youth was like, oh, they're doing that Black Sabbath riffing stuff. That's really cool. What else is there? And then there was like, oh, there's this band Black Flag. And I was
Yeah.
like a later teenager, so I was like, oh, angsty stuff, yay. And I can brew it with Henry Rollins on this stuff. But like they're both much, much more into punk than I am.
Gotcha.
I get a lot of it from them that I'll listen to.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like, hey, here's a Rancid song, and I've never heard it.
Yeah, you know what? Even the
Yeah.
fact that you know who Reagan Youth are says you know quite a lot about him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I know like the sort of like the older stuff, but thrash I loved, and you know, Suicidal Tendencies is a big drumming and music composing influence on me.
Yeah, sick, man.
So
I just recorded Suicidal Tendencies tune with the old band I used to be in on saxophone, and we're having a lot of fun. They've done this crazy like version of it. But
Oh,
yeah, I'm
shit.
really looking forward to
What
this
song
coming
you
out.
guys doing?
I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. I knew I was going to have to answer that question. Mike.
Now
I'll
I'm
let you know
interviewing you.
in the second half. I'll let you know. Oh, so Jojo, how did you get into music, man?
I mean, my dad was a drummer, so he passed when I was like 5. So I just always grew up kind of like wanting to follow his footsteps, and just because I felt like even as a young kid, I would understand him more by playing the drums. He was definitely a way better drummer than I would ever be. But when I was like 11, I joined my first punk band. We were called the Lucky Fucks in New
That's a cool
York,
name.
because that was the whole goal, was just like not make it.
The
And
Lucky
like,
Fucks is a great name.
oh yeah, we were
Write
trying
that
to
down.
destroy shit. We were only into like early 80s hardcore and stuff like that, like Black Flag, Circle Jerks at a very young age. But due to Tony Hawk, due to like SLC Punk, growing up watching that movie, like, so I was doing that, and then I moved down here. So I didn't play music for like maybe 4 years when I moved down here, maybe in my mid-20s,
Yeah.
and started playing again. I haven't touched drums in like a few years, but then I was like immediately back into it with this band Vagrant Stomp. And then
Vagrant Stomp.
Vagrant Stomp,
That's
yeah.
also cool.
And then
You're doing well with like good names for bands right
I
now.
never thought of them, I swear. Lucky Fucks I did when I was like a kid. I was like, the Lucky Fucks, let's fucking do it. But then everything else is all the other people I joined. But then just like filling in here and there, playing Europe sometimes on drums and stuff. But I really got into bass at a young age because of like Rancid and the Adolescents and even Queen, like John Deacon. He's one of my favorite bassists ever.
So did you do the big like circuit in Europe of like all of the kind of squats and like punk, like that kind of thing with punk shows, or were you playing?
Oh
like,
no, I wish. I was just doing like a festival here and there, like
Gotcha.
with
Rebellion Fest, right?
Rebellion Fest.
Yeah, man. I
we-
played Rebellion for like a bunch of times. I love that festival.
I think that leaves you out of this.
I've heard about it.
We need a
See, I
roster.
hear about all these things, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's that thing.
You guys will get to Rebellion Fest, I'm sure of it, man.
I
Yeah,
would love to.
yeah,
Rebellion Festival rules. Played Ireland, all my peeps in Ireland. I love you.
yeah.
Northern Ireland, what's up? Belfast, eh? Stiff little fingers. Love you
That's
guys.
awesome. Yeah, I guess that's all I got in that regard. So, the next question is like, how busy are you guys in terms of shows and things like that? Like, how often do you play?
Well, we fluctuated a bit. I mean, we were playing when we first started out. We were playing
A
like
lot.
almost every other week. Just first of all, just to get the name out there, let people know that hey, we exist as a
Grinding your
band.
teeth.
Grinding your teeth, getting new spots, letting them know who we are so we come back to them more. And then we just kept getting asked to play it over and over again. I think we really established our foothold in Miami when Las Rosas was around. I don't know
Yeah,
if you remember that venue.
yeah,
but,
yeah.
And then, COVID hit and then everything kind of died down for a bit. Then we took our time getting back together once we got JoJo into the band. And I'd say that within the last couple of months, we took a break for recording, and now we kind of just came out of the gate hot. Like we promised ourselves we wouldn't do that again, don't want to get burnt out. But then, it's tempting to
It's so
always
fun.
say yes to say,
That's
yeah,
the
do a
fun.
show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you get asked. Like
Yeah.
it is cool when you get asked.
It's so much
Yeah.
because I still do it every now and then. I'll book a show and I'll ask people to be on it. And I've been doing it for so long that, okay, well, I know if I do that, I have to make sure there's sound equipment set up. You take on the role of a promoter. I, respect the promoters, but I don't like being one. It's a lot of work.
I do it sometimes. I'll do it just because I want these things to happen, but
Yeah.
can't say I enjoy promoting that.
I mean,
much.
the one things that I do enjoy about it is, because it feeds into this side hobby or side project I do for graphic design is
yeah,
I always felt for a long time like I love a good flyer.
yeah,
And I was inspired to really start drawing flyers when I saw American Hardcore
yeah. Okay, yeah.
back
that
in like
documentary.
2007, 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like
good
some
soundtrack.
commentary that a lot of these flyers kids do nowadays. It looks like it's on Microsoft Paint or whatever. And I remember being in high school and seeing shows that looked like it was literally on Microsoft Paint. Like, why can't we do something better?
Yeah,
So I started drawing shit that would look like from the 80s. And then I just started making flyers myself. I got my own style down.
wicked.
And that's the reason I wanted to put the show together so I could draw a bitch and design and
Yeah, dude.
promote that out there.
I feel that. That's really the only part of all that I enjoy is doing
Yeah.
the art. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fun. Like, I don't really have so much going on in my life that the only time I ever really get to mess around in like Photoshop or draw on a piece of paper is if I'm making a flyer. That's pretty
Yeah.
much it. Yeah.
And it's a good other side of that creativity to keep playing around with. And that's why I like, all right, well, let me do more stuff like this. And then I end up doing most of the merch and the designs for the bands and stuff.
Yeah,
when,
wicked.
when I'm not burned out and making, I'll pay someone else to do that shit. I'm just tired right now.
So you mentioned to me earlier that you do have another thing that you guys do where you have like an animated graphic novel, is that right?
Yes. So technically speaking, all three of us are, I guess you could say, models as well as voice actors.
I could tell by the jawlines.
So no, I got a project that I've been doing on the side. It's actually been getting some pretty good response to it for the last 3 years. It was birthed out of quarantine, not having anything to do.
Yeah.
So I made an animated graphic novel, which is based on an existing video game by the name of Resident Evil.
Sure.
No, don't know if you've heard of it, but I'm a huge fan of like the earlier entries in that game. I love the PlayStation 1 titles. I grew up with those.
Yeah, sure.
And what I wanted to do was take that, and since it's always been focused on monsters and zombies and shit, take it back before that happens in the same environment, the city it takes place in. It's called Raccoon City.
Yeah.
No raccoons, by the way.
No raccoons, by the way.
Raccoons.
False advertising. And so the way that I do it is it's taking inspiration from this other game called Max Payne,
Right.
which is a film noir story about a detective.
Yeah.
It's about a hardboiled detective, that classic noir story that I fell in love with as a kid. It exposed me to film noir. So I decided, you know what? There are cutscenes in that video game, since the technology was so still underdeveloped, they couldn't render cutscenes. So instead, they just did, you know what? It's a detective story, noir story. Let's just make comic book panels instead.
Yeah, okay.
So they would take people on the team became the actors.
Yeah.
Their parents became actors.
Yeah.
The guy who refills the soda machine was, hey, we'll just have you model as a mobster.
Yeah. Man.
And they would take pictures of him on a white wall and Photoshop the rest. And I saw that. I'm like, I can do that. And I've got nothing else to do with my time. So I did that. I made myself the main character because, DIY.
Because why wouldn't you?
And then it became like, I've got 3 episodes out. He became my partner on the project initially to just help me do the music. So I have episodes out there on YouTube. By the way, it's called Carrier, a Raccoon City Story.
Sick. Okay.
So it's like Sin City. It's like, Max Payne. It's like,
I love that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I love film noir, that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
and it's set in the snow time. It's supposed to be more of a detective story.
Heck.
He plays the main villain.
Do you have the
Yes.
femme fatale? Have you
Yes.
got-
I finally just got the femme fatale in there. It's my
Nice.
fiance.
Okay, wicked.
And he plays a news anchor character, but he voices at least like 6 different characters.
Mhm.
So
Oh, wow.
he's really the main voiceover talent.
Okay. When you were doing the sound checks, I was very impressed by you have like a whole sub frequency to your voice, which is very
When I
impressive.
go like this,
Yeah.
hello.
It's amazing.
Do the construction worker guys at like the Chicago? It was freaking crazy.
Oh, he's freaking crazy over there.
Explosions up the wazoo.
Explosion at the wazoo. What's going on? That's more of like a Brooklyn kind of thing, like a New Yorker kind of. I don't know.
It's awesome.
I do a
This
bunch
is
of
definitely
voices.
the
Yeah.
medium.
And then,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
disco
started when
Oh,
the
sure.
band was a bit on hiatus and kept it going, and the band came back. So I'm working on both projects simultaneously, and it's cool because if people who are a fan of the comic ever came to see us, it'd be like, hey, well, you're looking at pretty much the majority of the acting force on that.
That's excellent. And you know what? Like these days, you got to have a few different angles to hit to get something,
Yeah.
So it's like those two sort of media angles, but they kind of come together as a band.
Yeah.
That's how we started
Yeah.
because I went over there to do the voice.
Yeah, that's right.
And
that's
we
right.
just started talking about like how we all were in different local bands and stuff. And then we were just like, yeah, I wish it could have been this way or that way. And then, we were just like, do you want to just jam?
Yeah.
And then we
think-
did.
because I only knew you as a drummer. He was in 2 great bands that I saw, Vagrant Stomp and in Death Lottery.
Oh yeah, I replaced
And
the original drummer from Death Lottery.
And I remember I saw a picture of you. All I did was I saw a picture of you holding a bass. And the
Mhm.
way that you were playing drums, and I knew I'd seen you playing guitar at one point, like, all right, if he knows drums and guitar, he's got to know bass.
Yeah.
It's just no
It's
reason
pretty
why.
accurate. Pretty accurate.
So then you were hanging around. We were talking about it. First of all, I got you over to do the voiceover. And then from there, so I didn't even put that together. Carrier led to this formation of the band. Because for a while, we were, not a while, for like one show, we were playing as a 2-piece.
Right, really?
Yeah. This guy that owned
It's Tough Times, but it used to be Loser Lounge.
Loser
Yeah.
Lounge. Yeah.
And before that, it was Beer Punk, but the guy owned
Rest
it.
in
Wyatt.
peace, Wyatt.
And he passed
Rest in peace,
away,
Wyatt.
and there was a tribute show, and I don't know who or why, but they asked us out of the blue and we did it, but we didn't have a bass player. So I said to Shaun, all right, I'll start the band up again.
Yeah.
Under the condition that we record.
Yeah.
We start a new album. That was my condition. And then we don't play as much.
So
we met one of those conditions.
Yeah, there you go. That's going 1 out of 3.
But we did that, and then we did that show, and I liked it, but it was missing that bass thing. And
the funny thing was, so originally one of my other bands was supposed to play, but we dropped out, and I was really upset at dropping out of shows. So I hit him up, and literally the week of, and I said, "Hey, look, man, you want to just play like 6 songs on this thing?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "All right." And we had one practice.
Yeah.
And we hadn't played the songs in almost like 2 to 3 years together.
Okay.
And we hit it like that. It was
like,
because then we did the show, and I'm like, screw it. We could do, like, there was another band from down here called the Riot Act.
Yeah.
And they were a 2-piece. They played like rock and roll, almost rockabilly. They made it work. And I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's just see where we go with that. Then JoJo came around.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, we were supposed to have 2 other bass players. None of them, or I guess it was just that one, the one with the dreads. I was supposed to audition or whatever before Joe.
Is he the dude?
Rocky?
Oh no, it was the guy who looks like Rocky.
Is it the dude from? He plays a stand-up electric one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's in.
yeah.
I want to say he's in.
He's a cool dude, actually. I forgot his name.
The Barely Dames?
Yes, Copper Tones.
Copper Tones. Yeah.
And so we couldn't
Yeah,
lock
yeah.
something in, and then Joe came, and I think we did 1 or 2 songs with him. And I just looked at Shaun, and Shaun knows my looks, and then I said, Joe, hey, you're in the band.
By the
He
way,
gave
this
me a Zippo. It said Sewerside Bombers on it. I'm
Did you
like,
bring it?
no, I never bring it. Every time they're like, did you bring
Suicide
it?
Bombers zipper.
So he got this. He had his
That's the
custom
coolest
made
thing.
I'm the
first.
That's
worst, by the way,
rockabilly as
But
everyone.
then
well.
once we all locked it in, we
Oh,
got
Jesus.
these.
Oh
So
man.
it's
look at
custom
these
made
things.
by Captain
Captain
Metalworks, which is
Metalworks.
Captain. He was the washboard player in Ascultura.
This
Didn't even know.
is a great idea for merch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people like really kind of more expensive items. You do always end up selling that stuff. I'm going to get some Killbillies Zippos, man.
Yeah, he
You see that?
charges
Really cool. They're really nice.
$50 he charges.
So, and the way that he does it, they're all custom engraved for us. So for Noah's,
Yeah.
it says Sewerside Bombers. On the back is our song Roach Motel,
Oh yeah.
which is one of our really popular songs. And I
Yeah.
think that's his, like, he goes all out in the performance in that one.
yeah, that's the one where I end up bloody all out.
For me, I've got Rile 'Em Up, which is the first song I ever wrote for the band.
Nice.
Like, and we re-recorded a different version of it for this new album coming out.
Does he do it like by hand or does he go?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
yeah,
by
yeah,
hand.
yeah.
And then for JoJo,
I don't have it, but
But
it
if you had it,
says
it would say something like,
gutter to grave.
because he
Oh,
joined
nice.
as part of this new
that
album
album.
that we got coming out.
Well, that's the perfect segue. Tell us about what's going on with the new album. Have you written all the songs?
Yes, everything. As soon as we got him in the band, we just decided like half the album was written on the spot.
Yeah.
They're all new songs. The other ones are ones that were sitting around for a bit that we decided we cherry picked out of our list of songs that we sitting around like, all right, these ones will do good. But I believe like 5 or 6 of the songs we just wrote on the spot.
Yeah.
And
nice.
within
We wrote and then we but we took from those other songs to Frankenstein.
like we had other
Some stuff.
songs that were ideas
I
that
stole
were
from
like,
myself.
oh, it became this, or we cut and mix into that. So I think within we usually go in for like 2 hours our session.
Right.
Within 2 sessions, we had 6 songs from start to finish done.
Oh wow.
Two of the first sessions. So like the first time we were jamming, I think we did like a George Thorogood jam,
Yeah.
just to,
Yeah.
like warm up.
I wanted to play Who Do You Love? So
Yes.
we did
Yeah.
that for that was like a 20-minute.
And then it turned into us writing like 5 songs of first practice. And I'm like,
I
all
love
right,
it.
they're serious. They're good.
But then
That's sick.
the part that
Well, you
kind
were
of
good.
hit the
That's
bit of the slow molasses was, all right, we got the songs down. Now we got to write the lyrics.
Yeah.
So I always, for me, a songwriting, it's the guitar comes first and then
Right,
the
yeah.
words come after. But then we recorded them all at our buddy's studio, where the same guy we recorded our first EP with, but at a different studio.
Oh, nice. Can you remember what the studio's called?
Yeah.
Renown?
Recordings, I guess.
Nick Rum.
It's
Okay.
it's Romanelli Recordings is
We
what.
love you, Nick.
Oh,
Hi,
gotcha.
We love you, Nick.
If you want to
Hi,
find
Nick.
him, his name's Nick Romanelli. And
Yeah, yeah.
the
And he
studio.
sells,
also has badass
he's
vintage equipment,
badass
Hollywood
vintage
vintage.
equipment,
Nice.
on
and he loves
Instagram.
selling drums.
Like you'll walk in there one day and then all of a
He's
sudden
gonna
hang on the
go.
wall is like old fashioned Gibson, like I want to say ES 135, the regular acoustic looking body.
Nice.
And it's so old fashioned that it's not even that classic Gibson signature. It's the one they used in the 40s.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, no,
Old
everything's
school.
vintage. The drums that I
Yeah.
recorded on, they're from like the 40s, 50s. If Nick is watching this, he'll correct me. But it's all like old stuff. You walk in there and it's like a time machine.
Yeah.
That's
Everything's
so
real
awesome.
to real, and it's
Yeah, he
you
has
hear the
everything.
buzzing of the recording happening.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
that
Yeah.
vibe.
It's so cool. If you ever seen that when they rewind on it, it sounds like a spaceship because it's analog.
That's
I'll
cool. So
never
he
get
records the
old.
tape.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh wow! That's
And then,
badass.
um,
I've got a tape machine, but I don't use that often, apart from just kind of little effects and things like that. But
Yep.
yeah, they are super cool. Is it? Yeah, that's amazing. Recording to tape's a lot of fun. I have done it because at my university, I'm old enough where the studio at my university, their main way of recording was by tape.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
It's a dying art, man. It's a dying art.
Yeah.
Well, not a dying art. It's still there, but hopefully it gets back in full force. Like maybe, who knows?
I mean, it's just another. These days, it's just like another flavor. The one thing that I will say though is I've spent an exorbitant amount of money on plugins to sound analog.
Yes.
Like distressors and this and that. And the stupid thing is, it's just like, well, why not just be analog instead of trying to sound it all the time? It's kind of like they putting the cart before the horse. Is ridiculous. Yeah, I've spent thousands of dollars on analog emulators, which is crazy. But there we are. So you're at the mixing process now.
Yeah, I believe we actually got the majority of the songs mixed. We're mixing with a different guy from who we recorded with, but he's the same guy who we recorded and mixed our last EP with, which is Tales from the Roach Motel. And, we had a great time with them. I believe he's like a family friend of yours.
Yeah.
He's also got a really, really good keen ear he's like the kind of person you'd want within like a producer role.
Yeah.
Because he offers us such great insight. Like, I honestly feel like he taught me how to sing on this one.
Oh, nice.
So we had, we recorded all the vocals and everything in Nick's studio, but then a few things we went back and redid just because we had a different perspective on it. I think I re-recorded at least one of the songs.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty lengthy song, but I didn't quite have the voice down. It's one where it's very much the energy is brought down a bit. It's a very slow jamming song, but it has its peaks.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to sing it for the longest time.
There's some I've had that where you get in your head about it too, and then you just can't figure out. But that's happened to me, yeah.
And then he just offers like, why don't you? I can hear you're at this point. Why don't you just go all the way there? And I reached this high point that I never go to because I always want to get that punk gravelly. I'm always trying to sound like Mike Ness to some degree.
Sure. Yeah, I get it.
And then he's like, no, go there because it's where your voice naturally goes. And went to this higher level that I was there but never refined. And then we just beat the hell out of it. Like we got great, that's the sound. And we did takes on, we layered it, and it just sounds like something I'd never done before.
Oh wow, that's so nice that he can bring that out. That shows he's like a good producer.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
Shout out Oren. We love you,
Shout
Oren.
out to you, Oren.
Hi, Oren.
Our brother, we love you.
And he also gave advice has been given to us for quite some time, but I, for some reason, listened to it on him, like volume control on the amps too.
Oh yeah,
like
for band practice,
especially.
Yeah, because it just turns into like this competition, and you get louder
the noise
louder
battle.
and louder and louder.
He came up to me, and I remember I was playing. He's like, "Is that how loud you're playing usually?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "How old are you?" And I thought he was gonna like judge me on, and you're this old and you're still playing guitar like that. And he's like, "You're that old? You're gonna be deaf before you reach 40."
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I was like, turn down a bit because that way the drums don't have to go as hard and they can focus on playing. And then that way, when he does put the effort in, hear like the fills and such.
Yeah, the accents and all that.
The accents and everything. So like,
plus you're able to hear each other.
Yeah.
More, and you're not having to focus on what this guy's doing, what he's doing, all those things.
And he has
totally, because when you're young, the fun thing about being in a band is making a lot of noise.
Hard.
There's a band,
but then when you're actually trying to get stuff done, and you're a bit older, it's like, why on earth are we playing so loud?
There's a band that me and Hep both grew up seeing from the local scene down here called the Panics.
Yeah,
they were the only thrash punk band that I personally have. I would say they did it right.
Yeah, nice.
And because they had members of that band Black Tide in them.
Okay.
But we knew them. They were in the same kind of high school neighborhood as us.
Where do you guys live, by the way?
I live in Fort Lauderdale, but I grew up
Gotcha.
in Coral Springs, going
Right.
like to Taravella High School and stuff.
I grew up in Hollywood, but I live in Plantation.
Okay.
I live in Lake Worth off of Hypaluxo by Congress. Shout out to Chris Taverna. Best Greek food.
There you go.
Hold the phone.
Yeah.
You
So
live.
you're the most local of the.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
three.
This was an easy ride after work. I was
You
like 10
said
minutes out.
Hypaluxo in Congress.
Well, Venetian, but it's
Venetian.
right by Congress. Yeah,
You
shout out.
right by where I grew up as a kid.
If you could just give the exact address and your mother's maiden name.
6663.
82 Sandpiper Way.
Oh, wow. Oh, shoot. I know where that's at.
That's where I grew up, and that's where
Oh, shit.
yeah. I moved to Brazil. I lived there for the entire 90s, and I left the country, and that's where I first heard Green Day. Was living in that neighborhood over there.
Oh, shit.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
small world, Dr. Jones.
Small
Yeah,
Look
world.
at that. We're still learning about each other.
But
But yeah,
yeah.
Shaun, we know, like, you remember the era of all of the kind of swamp punk bands, you know, Everyman and all those, and Kelastema and all those
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
bands.
yeah.
Is your sister who was in Kelastema? Who was in?
Oh, my fiance is in
Fiancé.
Kilastema.
Gotcha.
Which could be your sister if we lived a little bit up
Yeah.
north.
Did a little further north.
Hi, Trish.
That's
I've been
awesome.
known
I
to
always really
explore
loved.
kinks.
I always really loved that band. I know at one point there was some kind of a weird scuffle between Nono Scarvan and Kelastema, but it was nothing to do with me. And
Yeah.
I've always loved that band.
It's
They're
always
awesome.
leadership roles, you know, management,
Yeah.
politics.
Exactly,
Nah, I just,
So I could care less about any of that nonsense. I just thought to bring it up to say I don't care. But yeah, I thought they were one of the best one of the best bands I've ever
do them because
ever seen.
before that there was a band by the name of Viva La Vox.
Yeah.
That-
Exactly. That's what kind of
Yeah.
spawned everything, isn't it?
And it's funny you say swamp punk because that's the only term I could think of when
Yeah.
I first saw them.
Do you remember the Darling Sweets too?
the Darling
What
Sweets,
about the goddamn gallows?
the goddamn gal. Well, they're not from here though.
Oh.
There's a band called the Goddamn Hustle, but they were more like
yeah.
like Black Keys rock and roll.
The gallows is the one with the Jesus song, right? Y'all motherfuckers.
Yeah, y'all
need
motherfuckers need Jesus.
Yeah.
Yo, man.
They're good
What's
friends of
Cecil's
ours
band
too.
called? Do you remember the band that Cecil was in with a big beard? The guy who used to run propaganda. For
Oh
something.
man,
They
you
were
talking
awesome,
about
too.
the band that Dent was in for a little bit?
I can't remember.
which one?
You know, it's going to be one of those situations where we're going to have to come
Was
back.
he
up
also
to the
in a
break
sludge
and remember
band?
it. Cecil, I don't think he was. But that, yeah, when I got to South Florida, it was like 2 years before Matt started running propaganda. So
Oh wow.
So it was Justin and this guy Cecil, and yeah, it's Black Weather Shaman. That was what they were called.
Black Weather Shape. Nah,
Yeah,
that's a bit before my time. But I
Black
would
Weather
say like it felt like when I was really getting into playing in the music scene, like out after being done with high school and shit, Lake Worth and Broward and Miami had all like different avenues of punk. Like
Yeah.
Miami was the straight street punk
Yeah.
thrash, like street rock and roll, especially.
Yeah.
Like you had bands like OPS,
Yeah.
which was like the first time I saw some dude with in person, dude with leopard print spots on his head and a big blue mohawk.
Yeah.
Nestor, shout out to you, man.
Hi, Nestor.
You had bands like Five Across the Eyes. You had bands like I say OPS, Enough, FTN, No Peace at All. And Broward had a bit more of like the pop punk side,
Yeah.
but still a bit more like street punk too,
Okay.
mixed into it.
Yeah.
And Lake Worth, there's always this element of pop punk, but to me, Lake Worth and like West Palm area was that swamp punk.
Yeah.
The Darling
exactly.
Sweets,
Yeah.
the Viva La Vox.
Yeah, it had this. It was such a. It really was its own scene, and
Yeah.
all the bands were kind of coherent within that scene.
Yeah.
It made sense that, and it was a scene all its own too. There's like, I mean, folk punk and stuff was quite big at that time, but not like that.
Yeah.
That was his own thing, you know.
I thought that was just ingrained in the city for it was going to be there forever. For me, propaganda was like that was where you go to see girls dressed in like a mix between like old timey like 1800 classic stuff with pinup, that
Yeah.
looks so beautiful up there. Like, I mean, I was in love with like the punk chick with like the studs and the vests and shit, but that looked like a more mature woman's crowd up there.
With Lindsay from the
And,
Darling Sweets with the bright red hair.
Yeah, and all the guys looked so cool, like they all dressed up in like 2-piece suits and that looked worn out and the suspenders. And like, I was 19, like, all right, I'm just really getting into like, I'm the skate punk, I got my band, I got like the ripped, dog pile jeans and my Vans, my mohawk, and I see that, I'm like, you know what? I talked to my guys in the band, like, we got to start dressing up, man.
Yeah. So
So-
no, I hear you, and that's when I moved here. That was all going on, and I miss it. I miss it. That was so cool. All
Yeah.
of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it was this whole own thing, and a lot of those people have even moved away now. You know,
Yeah.
That's
So the Miami
tragedy
punk
of it all.
scene, that's what happened with that. Because I
Yeah.
grew up going to doing all that stuff, and all those guys, I mean, all those bands are
Honestly,
dead in the water, gone. And
I'd say
moving
that-
on, and
Churchill shutting down was really like, well, I don't want to say they shut down, but honestly,
when they changed management,
yeah, when
that's when it
Dave
happened.
Daniels sold the
Sold it,
place,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
that's
when
where it went
everything-
downhill.
Yeah,
But you know what? Like, we're all doing the best we can to try and sort of rectify the situation. And there are a bunch of bands up here. We just got to step it up a little bit, you know?
Yeah,
step it up, yeah. and
Because
they-
at the end of the day, the scene is what you make it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
100%.
It's like what you're doing out there.
it would really help too. There was a place that felt like a central hub for shows. You know, like
Yeah.
for the longest time, like I said, like Churchill's was that spot where, you know,
that was every show.
that was where every show was at. You know, you could be a nobody and go there and play, and
Yeah.
they'll let you in the door. And
You
then
know, I played at Churchill's before I lived in America.
no
I've-
shit.
Yeah,
What?
I
That's
came
cool.
all the way from Manchester, and it was the Miami stop on our tour. Yeah, and then I
Nice.
ended up moving like an hour away from the place. So,
That's
got-
awesome.
I got my
That's
teeth
awesome.
knocked out there.
oh wow,
The first-
congratulations!
There
The
you
first
go.
and only time I ever saw the business.
Oh man,
Oh,
yeah.
They
wow.
came down, and I went in there knowing that it was May 2008.
Yeah, the
And-
business at Churchill's that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
The drummer in that band, I knew him pretty well in Manchester. Cool guy. They're an awesome band.
yeah. But if we had a place that felt more like, well, that's where you'll see any kind of band play.
Yeah,
That still felt that way. Because for me, the longest time, Poorhouse in Fort Lauderdale felt that way. It still is. And honestly, like, you know, we don't play there as often, and it feels like the vibe around it, like that. That's where everyone wants to be at. That's where everyone wants to play.
yeah,
Like, I'm not seeing a lot of shows promoted there a lot, but it would help if there's a spot that everyone felt that way. That hey, let's go. Even if we're not playing, let's just go there because we're gonna go catch a show.
yeah. I feel like Propaganda still has that, but it,
I
you
think
know,
they're because
I think they're
Well,
doing
they have
great with the new
variety.
management and
Propaganda has
everything. They're doing
variety.
great.
Propaganda's got
Propaganda.
variety.
Yeah,
We
And
love you.
after they announced like new management, because there was a time where it was kind of quiet with transitioning over with the work and such. It's fantastic. I
Yeah.
love
No,
Propaganda.
lot
absolutely.
better than it was.
Playing there on the 23rd, you know, the place looks great. I've got to try and get in there more often. We're playing there next month. We're on a bill with some hip hop folk act or something.
See,
like
that's
that.
what's cool about like
Yeah.
Propaganda. Like
Yeah.
there's not a lot of venues that will cater to
There
the,
was
the
an-
variety of stuff.
There was an
Yeah.
interesting show that we had a Propaganda like a
With
while
Sewer-
ago
with Sewerside.
with Sewerside. So
Yes.
apparently, you know, I'm not too familiar with the genre of music, but apparently Sewerside is
He's
a
juggalo.
well, he's not only a juggalo, but that term suicide is actually relevant in the ICP community, in
Really?
the Insane Clown Posse.
What's up, Sewerside?
So we played
Yeah.
a show,
This is one guy.
and we were booked on the show, and I see, wait, are we listed twice? Because it says
Oh, that's
Suicide and
wild.
Sewerside Bombers. And I went to go play it, and then we find the guy, and he's like this.
He's a scrawny little. He's a nice guy.
He's
And
a
I
nice
think he's
dude,
friends
but
with-
he's a scrawny, nerdy looking dude, but he's all into like that heavy, like juggalo ICP hip hop shit.
Yeah.
And he comes up to us like, hey, so I hear you're the Suicide Bombers. Not gonna lie, it's a cool name. You guys look cool, but just let you know I had the name first. But let's party. It was his birthday apparently.
Yeah. He got. He was the
He
one that
got-
got really shit faced.
They carried him out of the show as we're playing.
Oh my word.
That's awesome.
It
It's
was just-
awesome. Yeah.
That's great. I love
think
it.
we know
Give
who's
it up for
stronger.
Suicide.
Two bands called Suicide on a bill is very unlikely. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
We're just like, what are the odds of that?
I reckon now would be a good time for us to listen to a tune by you guys. How does that sound?
Oh,
Let's
God.
do it.
Absolutely.
Sounds horrible.
All right, wicked.
Look at it.
This is a song about having the blues. It's called The Dog Died and the Cat Don't Like Me Much.
Thank you.
We have a rather special sponsorship this week. My friend Stu, who I know from Round and About in Jupiter, has an Instagram page, which is at Stu Says. So at STEWSAYS. And it is really just for dog lovers. Stu loves dogs, and he has an Instagram page which is just dedicated to the dogs that he meets on his travels. So you should go check it out. There's some really nice pictures of dogs on there, and become part of Stu's dog-loving community. I couldn't think of a more wholesome thing for us to be advertising, really. He is a supporter and a friend of the show, and he wanted to help us get our message out there, and we could give him this in return. It's just us letting you guys know that you can go and see beautiful pictures of dogs on Instagram at Stu Says. I've just been surfing through all the pictures, and there's some really cute pictures of dogs on there. I'm going to show some up on the screen now. Yeah, man, go check it out. Stu is a legend. He's one of the nicest people I know, and his Instagram is just a delight. He couldn't have picked a better podcast, really. My band is called Nina's Yard Party, which is named after my dog. And if you listen really carefully, you could probably hear my dog barking in the background. I'm a big dog lover. One more time, it's www.instagram.com/Stu Says. Stewarsays. It's the end of the year and it's time to get those taxes done. We all hate doing it, but it's just something that needs to get done. You can call Mary at Harmony Management Group and she'll make it as painless as possible for you. For the past several years, Mary has become the go-to accountant for the scene's musicians and artists, and really any small business. Need help? Give her a call today at 561-420-5652 or visit harmonymanagementgroup.com. Now, I can personally say that Mary is an absolutely wonderful accountant and she understands firsthand the world of artists and musicians. She's been a huge help to Killbillies, and we are so proud to have her as a sponsor because she really cares about the local music scene and the local art scene. If you need help with the paperwork side of any small business, Mary has got your back. Again, the way to get in touch with her is 561-420-5652, or you can visit harmonymanagementgroup.com. We are also sponsored by Oasis Root. Now, Oasis Root Carver Bar is in Seagrape Square on Indian Town Road, and it is a carver bar. If you don't know anything about carver, it's a Polynesian root that you grind up and you mix with water, and it has been in Polynesia for potentially thousands of years. It's an old thing that they used for kind of ceremonial and also sort of leisure purposes. It's meant to be something where, that brings people together. You all take a shell of carver and chink them together and say bula and have it together like that. It's meant to be something to bring people together. It's has a kind of an effect, which is, I guess, a kind of a slightly warming effect. It just kind of makes you feel nice. It's not particularly intoxicating. It's not like drinking alcohol. So the atmosphere in a carver bar is sort of like a cross between a regular bar and a coffee house. It's pretty chill in there. You get all sorts of different types of carver bars. Some of them are more like a club, there's sort of like blacklight and EDM playing, and some of them are more like a cafe. This is one of the cafe type of ones. It's super chill in there. If you're looking for somewhere to, I don't know, maybe go and do some work on your laptop or go and have a chat with friends, it's perfect for that kind of thing. There's a foosball table in there if that's your jam, or baby foot as they call it in France. And Jim, the owner, is a really cool guy, and he has very kindly sponsored our podcast. So thank you very, very much for that, Jim. They also do a poker night in there, all sorts of things going on at Oasis Root Carver Bar. 561 Music is sponsored by Live Music Community. It's where we film the podcast that you're listening to right now, and it's also where I work. Gavin, Hector's son, was a student here for a long time, and in many ways he's the musician he is today because of the teachers at Live Music Community. We taught him not only about his instrument, but also about being in a band, and his band, Unemployed Youth, accomplished a lot of goals, mostly band etiquette, how to work together, and all of the nitty-gritty that goes into being in a band on a day-to-day basis. The student signs up for lessons, learns their instrument, joins a real band, and decides the direction it goes in. And we can take people from very young age, 6 or 7 years old, all the way up to 80. There's no age limit here. We run an adult program for people who want to be in a band as adults, but really the main focus is on the kids and getting them playing together and in bands. We are also a studio, a live stream venue, and we can record audio or video. The Killbillies live album, Warts and All, was recorded here. It was recorded during a live stream that we did during COVID. Justin had a great idea to record live streams during COVID. A ton of bands came in, and it was a real success. But outside of that, we can record albums, we can help you with your EPK, and we have full audio-visual capabilities here. LMC is in Palm Beach Gardens on the northwest corner of Military Trail and North Lake Boulevard. It's north of the gas station, right before you get to North Lake on Military Trail. And if you go to livemusiccommunity.com, you have all the information you'll need right there. Thanks. All right, so we've just been listening to an ad for Live Music Community. Do you guys have any advice for upcoming musicians? Why don't we just go around the table? Let me start with you, Shaun.
Yes. Early to bed, early to rise keeps a kid, doing well in school or something.
Curly fries.
And curly fries.
Yeah, there you go.
If you're someone who wants to get into playing music, if you want to take lessons, go for it. Even if you don't feel like taking lessons or don't think that it's cut out for you, still go for it.
Yeah.
My recommendation that I started doing when I was playing guitar is, look, you've got all those frets, whether you bought the thing or you stole it, doesn't matter. You have all these frets on the guitar, make use of them. And the way I did it was I play a little game called Connect the Dots.
Right, yeah.
So literally, you don't have to be doing scales or anything that sounds like a song. It eventually becomes a song to your ear.
Sure.
Just connect it. You know, and then start connecting the non-dot spaces.
Yeah.
And then go from there.
Yeah, man. Exactly. You don't have to turn it into this big giant thing, you know. Just you can just have fun with it, man. Yeah.
Just have fun with it. Get used to playing around a bit, you know. It's understandable, stage fright, everyone goes through that. But eventually you just start figuring out, you know what, how do I make myself more animated on stage? Because you want to put on a show.
Yeah, and you guys really do put on a show. I love it when you play. Like you guys slay. It really has like this just raw like energy, you know. It's cool.
I mean, there's a story behind that because we weren't always like that.
Right.
We were doing the regular jump around stage thing, but at one point we played our first show with the band Daikaiju.
Yeah.
Which is,
I mean, if you see that, I mean, those guys take it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I had no idea who they were. I thought they were called Daikaiju or something. I thought it was like an anime band or something. I had no idea that it was a surf band referencing Godzilla.
Yeah.
And we played a show like probably about 2018 down at Kill Your Idol in Miami.
Yeah.
That tiny little joint.
Size of a closet.
Size of a closet. And these guys played it and they just wiped the floor with us. Look, thankfully we were.
You can't be better than them. I don't think there's a way of being like more exciting than they are.
But that was like, okay, get out there. Even though I grown up watching like Everyman play, but it's just get out there, make the floor your stage. You know, even if we're playing shows where there's like 5 people, that's great. Or if there's a big open spot in front of the stage, fine. I want that space.
Yeah, because that, you know, if you really kind of engage with the crowd, break the fourth wall and all that stuff, people feel like they're a part of the whole thing, you know? It's a great way to just bond with the audience.
And they'll remember the performance more than the music half the time too. So even if like your band isn't that good, that's fine.
Yeah,
you put on that performance and people remember that.
Yeah.
That's 100% true. And, you know, with Killbillies, we play a lot of like long shows and stuff like that, and it's not really the same kind of thing. It's like playing music. We perform, but it's not like we got 20 minutes to prove ourselves kind of situation. It's a bit of a different matter.
Yeah.
But you know, in other bands that I'm in, take it really seriously for sure.
Yeah.
No doubt about it, man. Yeah. What about you know, have you got any advice for the youth?
Yeah. Yes, take lessons if you're able to. I was self-taught for 10 years. And then at some point, I needed to take lessons because I was starting to get pain on my fingers. And that opened up a whole world, not only musically, but philosophically, about approaching drums, not just playing, you know, and counting to 4, but, you know, goes beyond that. And then if you're in a band, lots of advice, but, you know, understand the other members, their limitations, how to work with those limitations, and then also, regardless of your role, is also how to push the guys or girls to the potential. You know, if I like a certain type of music, and I know that it's not necessarily what Shaun likes, knowing how to convey what it is that I want to get out of him without necessarily either pushing him beyond his limits, but also, you know, encouraging him and you know, really just honestly having fun. And we always say that, you know, have fun, but really enjoy yourself.
I'm sorry to break this to you, Noah, but the Dave Matthews Band does not, in fact, rock.
Oh my God. Okay, so that drummer, so Carter Buford, right? A phenomenal drummer.
He is an amazing drummer, but that's as far as I'll go.
I think, yeah, right. Well, same here, man, because like they have great songs. I think you go on and on about all bands, but they have great songs, but their greatest songs are the ones where he really shines. Yeah. You know, but even Dave Matthews, there are certain songs where you can hear the band has fun. Yeah. They accentuate certain things, and it sounds like they're enjoying themselves.
And when people watch you and you're having fun, it makes a really big difference. Yeah. I've had, you know, people come to see us play in the past, and they're like, "Oh, you really like you're enjoying yourselves," and it made us enjoy ourselves. You know, that's a huge effect. Yeah. Just that energy transfer. A big deal.
And when you're making the songs too, one reason why I loved thrash was listening to Anthrax and listening to them on their albums. It sounds like they're really enjoying themselves. They're making fun of themselves during the songs. They have, a lot of comedy to it.
Yeah.
It's not like, bullshit comedy. Even blues guys, you listen to Buddy Guy, and that's somebody that has fun while he's playing the guitar.
Yeah.
And to hear that on an album is really difficult.
Yeah, for sure. It really is. And if you can convey that. I tried to bring some of the liveness into the new Killbillies record because it was so tempting. It's always so tempting to flatten everything on a recording to death, to the point where everything's perfect. But it's, with this, and every now and again, that is the right thing to do with the record. But this one, for us, I wanted to try and make it sound like we sound, just give it the vitality. And it was a challenge, because you've got to figure out at what point you stop obsessing about the little things and, and let certain things through just to give it that live feel.
Put kazoos on the album, put whistles, have fun, be goofy with it, and enjoy it.
Kazoo.
Didn't you put like one of our albums, was it a glockenspiel or something?
Yeah, that was the
what is that thing, by the way?
The second album.
It's like a little xylophone.
Yeah, it's like a little mini xylophone.
What's the one you hit? It sounds like a spur, like.
Isn't that door stopper?
It's
I'm pretty sure it's that.
It's like a rattler or a rattle.
Is that the guiro thing?
Yeah.
No, that's the Latin. Guiro is the Latin instrument that you kind of like move,
that's right.
move around. This is one that it looks like a door type of like door stopper, and you kind of flick it.
Yeah, and it goes
like that rattle.
Like a ruler on a table.
So not to go too far off topic with the segue here from what they're saying. Each one of our recordings we kind of explore with auxiliary percussions. I think is what you call it.
Yeah.
But on every EP we have, one of our songs has a hidden whip crack in it that we recorded ourselves, myself. By the way, on the side, I'm a huge Indiana Jones fanatic.
Oh,
so, I mean, if it wasn't for Indiana Jones, I wouldn't be born. My parents' first date was Raiders of the Lost Ark. But I learned how to use a whip. And so the first EP, the second EP, the third EP, and this is a new recording, there's a whip crack in there. I won't tell you where, but you're going to have to listen for it.
Interesting. I love that. It's so cool you can use a whip. All right, yeah. So Jojo, have you got any advice for the youths?
Yes, 3 things. First one, feedback is a gift. Regardless of where you're getting it from, whether it's a bandmate, a mentor, a teacher.
Even your amp.
Literally.
Or your drums.
It's a gift. And the only part that hurts is the ego, right? So just when you're hearing it from someone, just learn to just take in what they're saying in a constructive way.
Yeah.
Right? Easier said than done.
And even if they're not saying anything, make sure you take it in and make sure you overanalyze it.
That's what he does.
No, you're right. Feedback is a gift for sure. No, you're right. Yeah.
Second thing I would say is when you perform, play like it's the last time you're allowed to. Play like it's the last time. Like that's the philosophy that I've taken upon myself every time I went on stage since I was young to this very day. I play like it's the last time I'm playing.
Yeah. I mean, at some point it's going to be. So, may as well act like that for sure, man.
100%.
That's great advice.
What's number 3?
Number 3 is do not stop, right? You're going to have moments in your life that may even take you away from playing music, right? Don't beat yourself up for it, right? But don't stop either. Allow yourself to lean into life and then allow yourself to lean back into music because one inspires the other.
Yeah.
So definitely allow yourself to have that moment where, again, you just find that balance of life and music.
I mean, I can add on to that too. Like, it's her point in time, music and our performances stopped because we all went into quarantine. But music and the creativity was still there. And that's how I made Carrier. And then that was the creative side. And I figured out how to get music into there because it's an actual story that I'm telling.
Yeah,
and
nice.
For entertainment purposes, like, all right, this needs music. So this guy, we put it together ourselves on that too. So the music still prevails. It might come through a different avenue of approach, but it can still be there if you wanted to, and hang on to it because you might not realize it, but you can come up with a way in which music would be really uniquely included in a project that no one saw coming.
Absolutely.
You're musicians. You eat and breathe this anyways.
Yeah.
When I left the band, it was still there, and then we just rejoined and everything.
So can you tell me a little bit about what that song that we just listened to was about?
Yes.
Excellent.
So that was a bluesy song that the riffs I've been sitting on for quite some time in the key of G.
Okay.
And it's called The Dog Died and the Cat Don't Like Me Much. And contrary to popular belief, that has nothing to do with dogs or cats.
Okay. What is it about?
But I mean, it's just about, being young and wild. I draw a lot of my lyrical experience. If I can't write like a fantastical story or something for entertainment, I try to draw from my experiences. And it just comes from growing into from partying from my teens and my 20s into like my current 30s right now.
Yeah.
Still keeping it up, still doing the late nights, but then it comes to a point where I'm just doing this now because I don't know any other way and I'm trying to find a way.
Gotcha.
Trying to find maturity to the things that you did when you were younger.
Yeah, nice.
So
Okay. That's kind of profound, actually. I like it.
I'm still trying to find a way, but it's coming. It's coming around.
Yeah, let's take a look at the at your guitar.
Absolutely.
We have a guitar
Let's take a look here.
to gaze upon. Look at that
Look at
thing,
that.
man.
Oh my God.
Rockabilly guitar is so cool.
I call it Dave.
Okay.
What's up, Dave?
How many frets does it have?
21.
11 teen.
So how'd you get this guitar? What's the story behind this guitar?
So I've always wanted a hollow body guitar ever since I first saw. I didn't know that they were meant for rockabilly. The first time I ever saw one was with Rancid.
Sure.
When, at some point, Tim Armstrong started playing the black one.
Yeah.
And my first thought was, those guitars are meant for ska.
Yeah.
Because I would see him do the upstrokes on it, and I would go into like a Sam Ash or Mars Music when I was still around.
Mars.
And I would try to find them. They'd always be so high up in the wall because they're expensive.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of sheepishly ask a guy if I could play it, and he'd look at me and was like, "You're 13. What are you gonna know in this thing?" So, and then I worked at Guitar Center for a while, and I got to play around on them, and that's after I got exposed to like Stray Cats and Brian Setzer's insane guitar playing. And then I saw that you can actually do some punk rock stuff on it after hearing the Living End.
Sure.
And I'd always wanted one for the longest time. And so this was actually found on a lucky find on Craigslist.
Oh, wow.
I got this thing probably, I want to say like 7 years ago, 7 or 8. And it just
So
happened
it's a
to
real
be,
member of the family now.
yeah,
Been around.
it happened to be blind luck that it was a Sunburst one too. I am a sucker for Sunburst.
Yeah.
It could be even a guitar I'm not even a fan of. If it's Sunburst, yeah, I'll play it. And
I hear you. I like it too. It's like the first time you hear about Sunburst when you're young, you're like, when you see it on a guitar.
Yeah.
It's one of the things like when you're young, the first guitar you think is awesome is a Strat, and for some reason the first color you think is awesome is Sunburst.
Yeah.
Because it is the most awesome
Yeah.
one.
Mhm.
And so when I went to go get that thing, the guy bought it off. It was way the fuck down in like Southwest Miami. It seems like all the good stuff on Craigslist that's available in South Florida is always way down in South Miami for some
man.
reason. So when I went to go get it, I had the cash in hand. Went to the guy's house, and he was like, "Yeah, it really just sits around for decoration purposes now." As I'm going to buy it, his wife comes up, and at first she's joking, like, "Oh, but it really makes the room look so good." I'm like, "Ah, ha, ha, that's funny, nice. Now give me the guitar." And she's like, "But baby, it really looks much better in the living room." And I could see he was having second thoughts. I'm like,
Oh man.
I grabbed his hand, like, "There's $400 for you right here on front. Close your hand. I'm walking out of here with this."
Yeah. His missus just trying to persuade him now.
Yep.
Oh my word.
And then the last, so I'd actually recorded the Roach Motel song with that one, but the last item on there I'd like to discuss is there's a sticker on the bottom which says the GC5. That is hands down my top favorite non-Florida based punk rock band. Again, they're more of a street rock and roll band, but they're from Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio.
Oh, okay. Good to
So
know.
a lot of the bands I grew up loving, I got into them either as they're on their way out or long after they'd finished up.
Sure.
And this is a band that I only heard from like a couple of tunes downloaded off of like LimeWire or something.
Yeah.
Never knew who they were. And then my fiance and she's from Ohio, so she knew about them. I got their record, and that was like, this is the perfect blend of rock and roll, like Chuck Berry rock and roll, and street punk. It's like
Yeah.
the street punkers decided they wanted to learn how to play their instruments better.
Sure. Yeah.
And that was what I loved that band so much that in 2016, I happened across a post by them saying, "We're doing a reunion show at Now That's Class up in somewhere outside of like Cleveland, Ohio." And this is like in November. And it was a couple months before. And so I'm like, hey, babe. So I was thinking for Thanksgiving, we go and visit your family up in Ohio. I've never been to Ohio. So that's great. So, also, while we're up there, can we go catch this show?
Oh, that's funny.
And just to finish that story off, I commented on their post that, hey, we're coming all the way up from Miami to see you guys. These are they were huge on the U.S. touring, but, they all act like they're the local bands. They don't think themselves that big.
Sure.
So when we get to the show and they start to play, I'm in the crowd having one hell of a time. They, in between songs, like, hold up. Who's the fucking person that said they came all the way from Miami? Like, oh, that's me, man.
Yeah.
Like, why? That's kick ass, man. And we talked and got the sticker from them, and it stays there nice and prominent because that's where I feel they deserve it.
Yeah, that's a hell of a story for a sticker, man. You really sort of went out of your way for that one. It's badass. Yep. Yeah, I know that sort of edge of like punk rock into kind of sort of rockabilly there, where it has all of that attitude of punk, but then it just has. I know, like you were saying, is that the music is just a little superior, like they really kind of, that is a great spot for music. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time I feel that's where you guys live, and it's sick.
I remember the first song we ever tried experimenting with, because we all loved, even with our previous bass player, we all had an affinity for blues. Yeah. And to me, like, blues is always like the subterranean section of rock and roll. It's the darker area where, you go down there if you know what you're doing. Yeah. And, totally. And I always respected that. And I remember, like, the first time thinking that blues and punk rock went hand in hand, that they could be in the same bill together, was I borrowed Punkorama compilation from my buddy. Yeah. I think it was volume 8. Okay. And it was the first time I ever actually listened to a Punkorama, but I knew of the bands on there. And then on one of the bands I first heard on there was the Black Keys. Yeah. And there was like a contrast from like the Distillers and Bad Religion. And all of a sudden there's this slow, dirty, bluesy jam on there. And that became like one of my favorite songs to hear because it was so different compared to the lineup. And then with these guys, after I got to know and understand, especially Noah's technicality more, I'm like, you know what? Why don't we try like some more bluesy stuff inspired from the acts of K. Lastima? Yeah. And then we wrote the song called Jezebel. Which was the first time we'd ever done something slow. Yeah. That wasn't like a ballad or anything. It was just a blues tune.
It takes guts to do a slow blues tune as a punk band. It's definitely pushing yourselves out there.
When we first played it, the people who were already used to our sound, it definitely took them by surprise. You could see the look in their face. They're like,
really?
I don't know, what is this? And I thought that was great. Like they didn't react to it like as much as the other ones. And I thought that was fantastic. That means, all right, we're catching them off guard. Yeah. Let's make them love it. Yeah. And that's how we get putting out more songs and such. And that's what led to The Dog Died and The Cat Don't Like Me Much style songs.
Gotcha. I love it, man. It's interesting. It's a novel approach to, you don't hear that many punk bands around that play blues. It just doesn't seem to be much of there's, it's out there, but it definitely down here. And at the moment, I can't think of anyone, apart from you playing blues tunes.
It'd be great if we did, though. It's one thing I have to do, especially if it's younger kids come up, they start seeing us and want to do what we sound like. Great, man.
Yeah. Mix a lot of stuff, because we mix a lot of things too. Is let's just saw this band and they did this cool
you get a
style, and let's do this and let's mix that.
You get a lot of like the kind of like one man band type blues punk stuff. That's like a big deal.
Yeah. Well, Bruno, who's big in the one man band stuff, he's on the album.
Lone Wolf, one man band. Yeah, he plays harmonica on the recording. We went a little bit. We experimented a bit more with that song too. I do a lot of finger picking naturally, but also on an acoustic guitar, which he also swapped over, and he does slide pedal, lap slide guitar on the recording. Yeah. And
do you do chicken picking when you play?
Yeah. That was, I saw it. I tried it like years ago. I'm like, this shit's hard. Yeah. And then I'm like, but it looks so cool.
I know. It fits so well with you guys' style too. I was actually teaching a kid how to do it yesterday, and I reminded myself how fun it is.
It is. It definitely got to warm up for it
it's
a
like
bit.
Playing drums with your hand, with your fingers.
Yeah.
Or with your forehead. he does it a lot.
I do that. Well, you got to put it on a show. So you do stupid things behind the drum set that 90% you don't see, but when you do see it, it'll be me playing with my head or.
There's plenty of times we play, and I remember like it's like some people come up to us like commenting on it, but anyone who's first seen us play when we do the Roach Motel song, I don't know at what point he decided to do it, but he gets up and he just walks around, he'll disappear, and everyone's like, did he just quit? And he'll be in the back, just like line up a cigarette. And like, is he taking a nap? I'm like,
sometimes I have.
Other times
hilarious.
it looks like you walk around and you're just angry, and people are like, I think he's pissed off.
No,
like,
it's the
it's the energy, man.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you guys got coming up? What's in the pipes for Suicide Bombers?
So, like I mentioned earlier, we got the new album called Gutter to Grave, and we're gonna be releasing a couple singles off of that, and within the next month or two, once we get some things settled. The next shows we got coming up, you're gonna be going out of town for a bit, just for the weekend. We're doing March 8th and 9th. They're doing Orlando and Gainesville.
Nice.
I know Gainesville, we're playing with this fantastic band, which everyone should check out, called Piss Test. Shout out to you, Deb.
And Buck.
Mm-hmm. Another good name.
And and then we'll be taking after that, I believe we have the 561 Fest.
Yeah. Which is, by the way, I may as well bring this up now. It's March 30th, 20 bands, goes all day. It's at Matthew's Brewing. Please don't miss it. You can get your tickets now on any of our socials or our website. It all leads to the same place. And it's $10. It's like 20 bands. It's an amazing deal. Plus, Suicide Bombers are gonna be playing the festival, so you gotta come.
Who?
Think about it. All right, carry on.
And also, if you're still at the fest and it wraps up and you still feel like keeping the party going, come on down to Fat Cats. Literally the same night, we'll be playing the after party for the Adolescents, Circle Jerks, and
Descendants
show.
There you go.
With
That's
Billy Doom
awesome.
Is Dead.
That's right. They're playing it too, I remember.
Mhm.
I believe the Burnouts. Or
Billy
the
Doom is
Burnout.
Dead is
Burnouts on
playing
it?
our festival too. So,
Yeah,
so,
they're playing with us.
so
too.
both of you guys are going to go do that.
Doing
and then
double
we'll-
duty.
Yeah.
Double duty.
Double doo-doo.
Double duty.
And then Cinco de Mayo.
And
Ah.
then Cinco de Mayo, we'll be playing at the...
Atlantic Avenue Yacht Club. Shout out. We love you guys too. Nice vibe.
I think there's a small chance I might be playing that gig.
Oh
Is
shit.
it Rick? Is Ricky putting it on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I might
We'll
be
see you
playing
there,
it.
Awesome.
dude. All right.
Yeah.
We actually, I just gave him the green light on that today. And
Oh,
before
nice,
coming here,
man.
I'm like, yeah, dude, we'll play it. We're down.
Wicked. Well, listen, thank you, boys, so much for coming on. You're super cool. I love the band. I'm a lifelong fan, having been blown away at that Christmas show. And I guess I'm going to be seeing quite a lot of you in the coming year. You know, we're going to be crossing paths all over the place, different shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, you ain't seen The Last of Us yet, baby.
All right, nice one. So 561 Music, you can find us at 561 Music Podcast. That's all of our socials. And then 561music.com is our website. Please go and look on all of this stuff for information about the festival. Festival is $10 or $25 for a ticket and a t-shirt in advance. And there's 20 bands on the festival. It's an unmissable event. It's an unbelievably good deal. If you're into live music at all, I have no idea why you wouldn't come. It's going to be great. And brilliant. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Hi, mom.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, mommy.
Hi, Dad.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, mommy.
Hi, Zeppo.
Shout out Tiger Sunset, my brothers.
Take a better scene. It's what we're doing.